Start in a seated position, resting your hands wherever feels natural, and closing your eyes, drawing your focus inwards, following your breath in and out of your nose, and maybe setting an intention for your practice, something that can benefit you and all creatures. One more deep breath. And exhaling your right ear down to your right shoulder. Maybe extending the left arm out to the side. And lowering that arm, coming back to center. And exhaling your ear down to the left shoulder, maybe extending out the right arm. Breathing deeply into your belly. And inhaling up to center. And exhaling your chin down to your chest, keeping your spine nice and straight. Feeling those neck muscles release. And inhaling the chin up to center. Placing your left hand on the ground at your side, reaching up and over with the right hand. Looking at those fingers, trying to engage the whole right arm. Feeling a nice side stretch. And deepen that stretch as much as feels good to you. Keep breathing through the nose. And inhaling back to center. And we'll reach up and over with the left arm. Looking at those fingers, engaging the arm. Both sit bones are still grounded in the mat. Breathing into this side stretch. And inhaling back up to center. Inhaling the arms up to cactus and reaching the elbows backwards. You're opening your upper chest as though there was a string pulling you straight up from your sternum. Keeping those elbows at the level of your shoulders. And lowering those hands. Rolling your shoulders backwards and forwards. And coming to all fours position on hands and knees. Your wrists are under your shoulders, and we'll start to rock forward and backward on your wrists. Listening to your body. Maybe turning the fingers outwards and rocking side to side. And maybe one at a time, flipping the wrists over to apply gentle pressure to the other side. And we'll come back to our all fours position. Inhaling, rounding the spine, looking down. And exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding the spine. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding, last one. And exhale, arching your back. Coming back to neutral position. And extending the right leg out behind you, keeping your toe pointed down. You can flex or point your toe, trying to engage that leg behind you as your abs are tucked in. And maybe also extending out the opposite arm in front of you. And releasing that down to the mat. Inhaling the left leg up behind you, maybe the right arm. Tucking the abs in, engaging that back leg. Keeping your feet active. And exhale, releasing back to your all fours position. And we'll go down through our first flow. So you can stay on your knees, shifting your weight forward to bend the elbows, keeping them close to your side body. Maybe releasing down to your belly and pushing up to cobra. And then tucking those toes under, pushing your hips up and back for our first downward dog. You're more than welcome to bend your knees here, as it helps to bring the chest closer to the thighs. Engaging the arms, spreading the fingertips, pushing into the mat with all those knuckles, releasing your neck. One more deep breath. And inhaling, stepping in between your hands, coming up halfway. And exhale, folding forward. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Exhaling for a slight back bend. Inhaling up and exhale, folding forward, hinging at the hips. Inhaling up halfway. And exhaling the hands to the mat. Stepping back to that plank and maybe lowering to your knees. Shifting your weight forward, bending the elbows. Maybe extending the elbows a little more. And then pushing your hips up and back to our downward dog. You can pedal out your feet one at a time. Or just start to reach those heels closer to the mat. As you reach your tailbone up to the ceiling and tuck your abs in. Inhaling, stepping both feet in between the hands, coming up halfway. Exhale, folding forward. Inhaling the arms up, overhead. Exhale to back bend, pushing the hips forward. Inhaling up, exhale, folding forward. Inhaling up halfway. Exhaling your hands to the mat, stepping back to that plank, shifting your weight forward, and going through your vinyasa. Maybe increasing that back bend with each vinyasa, meeting back in our downward dog. Staying with your breath through the nose. And starting to shift your weight from your right side to your left side. And coming back to center, inhaling the right leg up. Exhaling it in between the hands, pointing the toes forward in 2 lanes. Grounding those feet into the mat and rising up the arms and torso. You can shorten your stance if that feels better. Trying to relax the shoulders down away from the ears and tucking the tailbone under as you engage the back leg. Breathing deeply with each breath sinking lower. And lowering both hands to the mat. Stepping back to that plank or lowering to your knees as you go through your vinyasa. Meeting back in our downward dog. And from here, inhaling the left leg up, exhaling it in between the hands, same as on the other side. Grounding your feet into the mat, rising up the arms and torso, tucking the tailbone under, relaxing the shoulders, squaring the hips, trying to sink lower with each breath. And then lowering the hands to the mat, stepping back to that plank or to knees and going through your vinyasa. Reconnecting with your breath in this downward dog. Maybe shifting your hips from side to side. And coming back to center. And inhaling, stepping both feet in between the hands, coming up halfway. Exhale to fold forward. Inhaling the arms up overhead. Exhale, bending the knees, tucking your tailbone under, and bringing your weight into your heels here. And bringing hands to heart center. Staying with your breath, keeping that tailbone tucked under. And reaching the arms up, if that feels okay for your shoulders, sinking a little deeper, and straightening the legs. Exhale to fold forward, grabbing opposite elbow, releasing the neck. Keep breathing deeply. If you want, you can shift your weight from your left side to your right side. One more deep breath. And inhaling up halfway to that flat back position. Your fingers are just hovering over your knees or shins. Really just using your low back to keep straight. And we'll do some standing cat-cows. Inhaling, rounding the spine. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding, looking down. Exhale, arching, looking up. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding. Exhale, arching. Inhale, rounding, last one. And exhale, arching and coming back to that flat back position. Holding here for one breath. And then lowering the hands to the mat, stepping back to that plank or lowering to your knees, going through your vinyasa. We'll meet in that downward dog position. Inhaling the right leg up, exhaling it in between the hands, and turning both toes to face the long side of your mat, hands on hips, and rising your torso to stand. And then pointing the toes outward 45 degrees, maybe widening your stance a bit. Bringing arms up to cactus and bending the knees, keeping the knees pointed outwards, tucking your tailbone under, following your breath deeply through your nose. Keep opening that chest by reaching the elbows backwards. Sinking deeper with each breath. And straightening the legs. Pointing those toes forward again with hands on hips. And we'll hinge forward halfway to a flat back. And then releasing both hands down to fold forward as much as feels good to you. Trying to keep those legs straight. Walking your hands over to the left side. Feeling a nice side stretch. And walking those hands to the right side. Engaging those arms. And coming back to center, hands on hips to rise your torso up to stand. We'll widen the stance a little more, pointing those toes outward again. Hands come to heart center, and we're going to bend the right leg, coming to a side lunge. You want to keep your knee pointed outwards. And then coming up and bending the left leg. Coming back to center and bending the right leg again. Inhaling up, exhaling down to the left side. Inhaling up, exhaling to the right side. Maybe coming a little deeper. Inhaling up and exhaling back to the left side. And then walking your hands to the top of your mat. Stepping back and going through your vinyasa. And from our downward dog, shifting your weight forward to plank. Keeping your abs tucked in, breathing deeply here. And then lowering onto your forearms, keeping your abs tucked in. And begin to walk your feet closer to your arms. Lifting that tailbone up to the ceiling and maybe starting to look out in front of your hands. Maybe rocking onto your toes from heels to toes. Trying to lift the hips higher. Pushing down into the mat with your forearms. Playing with dolphin pose here. And then you can lower it down to your knees, keeping your hips lifted. Walk those hands out in front to rest on your forehead. Your arms are still engaged for a shoulder stretch. Breathing deeply. And walking those hands back. And lifting up the right arm and exhale, threading it through the arm, resting the head on the mat. You can use that left hand to deepen the twist, pushing into the hand. Breathing deeply. And inhaling, bringing that hand back to the mat, and inhaling the left arm up and threading that arm through, resting on the side of your head. Deepening that twist, pushing into your right hand. Staying with your breath. And unthreading that needle. Walking your hands to the top of your mat, shifting your weight forward to go through your vinyasa. And from our downward dog, lowering to your knees and slowly bending your arms to lower onto your belly with arms extended out in front. We'll take a couple deep breaths into our belly first. And then inhaling the left arm up in front of you and the right leg behind you. Breathing deeply into your belly. And releasing opposite limb. And we'll come to your forearm on the right side. Inhaling, lifting those hips up off the mat. Or you can always lower that right knee to the mat if you need stability. And lifting that left arm up. Maybe looking at your fingers. Pushing your right shoulder down and away from your ear. And we'll come back to our forearm plank and lowering onto your belly again. Arms out in front of you. Inhaling the left leg behind you and the right arm in front. Keep engaging that glute. And releasing those limbs down. Coming to our forearm again on the left forearm. On our sides, inhaling the hips up off the mat, maybe lowering that left knee to the mat. Looking up at those right fingers. Pushing into your left forearm. And coming back to our forearm plank. And lowering onto your belly. And pushing back up and going through your vinyasa. And from our downward dog, we'll meet in a seated position with legs extended out in front, engaging both legs, inhaling the arms up, and exhale, folding forward, reaching your chin to your toes first. And we're trying to keep that lower back straight to fold at the hips. And on your next exhale, releasing that head down. Breathing deeply. Inhaling the arms and torso up. And bending your knees so your feet are touching in butterfly. Trying to lower those knees down and straighten your spine. And folding forward slightly, but keeping that lower back straight. Should feel a nice stretch in your hips. And rising up the torso and extending both legs out to the side. You're going to reach for each big toe with your 2 pointer fingers, engaging the leg so you're pushing down into the mat as you fold forward. Wrapping those fingers around your big toe if you can reach. Really engaging your legs here. And then releasing your hands out in front of you to fold forward as much as feels good. And walking those hands back to center, closing the legs and crossing them. Hands at the top of your mat, stepping back to that plank or lowering to knees and going through your vinyasa. And we'll come back in our seated position, shifting your weight back to your sacrum and lifting those heels up off the mat, maybe extending your legs out for boat pose. Breathing deeply. And lowering those feet to the mat, hands behind you. Inhale, lifting the hips up. You can release your neck back. You can also shift your weight forward and backward to stretch your shoulders. And lowering the hips down to the mat, coming back to our boat pose. Maybe extending those legs out a little more. Trying to straighten the spine. Lowering those feet back to the mat. And lowering onto your back. Hands are palm face down on the mat, inhaling the hips up for bridge pose. Really engaging the glutes, lifting up as high as you can. Breathing into your belly. And releasing the hips to the mat. Bending your legs so you can grab the outer edge of your feet, maybe rocking side to side. And releasing those feet. Hugging your knees into your chest and lowering the knees to the left side, looking to the right. And bringing your knees back to center and lowering them to the right side, looking to the left. And bringing the knees back to center, inhaling the feet up to the ceiling. And starting to lower those legs down 1 inch at a time. Opening the feet mat width distance and pointing the toes outwards. And extending the arms out, palm face up. Resting in our final Shavasana pose. You can take your awareness off your breath. Just try to find stillness here for the next few minutes. Taking a deep breath in, wiggling your fingers and toes, bending your arms and legs, and rolling onto your favorite side. Keeping your eyes closed as you push to a seated position, straightening your spine, and bring your hands to heart center, expressing gratitude for your practice, for your mind and your body, remembering the intention that you set. And bowing your head, leaving your ego below your heart. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me today. Have a great day.